Particularly one question I've got, in regards to the website is you mentioned about click and collect. And so there's all these aspects that actually, because of the pandemic, what it's done, it meant, a lot of brands where they weren't geared up for that, they now need to be. But I'm sure there's so many different competing things that unfortunately they now need to catch up on. What should they prioritize?
Yeah, good question. I think the first thing is don't neglect the brand story. Yes, we're an e-commerce outlet. Yes, we're providing certain product, but don't forget even that the purpose-led agenda has really taken itself to the next level over the last couple of years. And what I mean by that is the push for sustainability and the rise of eco-friendly products and people looking to buy local and all that good stuff. So don't lose sight of the story when we're selling product. Don't become a faceless organization. Once you've managed to get the story through, and typically that's done from enriched product data on the product pages, there's normally an about page, and you kind of tell that story throughout the site, but it's also done through the messaging and the whole customer journey. Too many times that you may tell a great story online, but then it goes into kind of Shopify default messaging as soon as you've checked out. Well, actually, that first email is just as important to say thank you. That first interaction when someone opens the product, and we always call it kind of surprise and delight, but the first time you unwrap your product out of the post and you open it, that also is part of the brand story. That follow up a week later to ask how it went and if they'd leave a review, etc., is also part of it. So making sure you tell your brand story at every opportunity is really, really important. And we're looking to turn buyers into advocates, into kind of referrers, and on from there. And so really, really important that we take every opportunity we can when someone interacts with a brand to educate them a little bit further on the brand, its story, its mission, its purpose, etc. Pulling it back to slightly more lower hanging fruit, I guess, you would typically look at three core pages. And retailers tend to look at the home page, a PLP, so a product listing page, and then a product page. And so if we go with product page and work backwards, and I always say to kind of retailers and clients that we're working with, start at the end and work backwards. And so actually there might be a fourth page there, which is cart or checkout. So if we start with cart or checkout, what are we doing to make that as seamless as possible? How are we not putting in unnecessary steps? What are we doing to upsell at every possible opportunity? But how can we make sure that in 3 or 4 clicks, you've gone from arriving on the site to checking out? And you look at a giant like Amazon, they've absolutely crushed that model. And that's exactly what we need to be doing. We're no different. People are time poor. Doesn't matter if they're buying on Amazon or buying from our store. We need to make that journey as easy as possible. I think, again, if you look at cart and you think about the rise of platforms such as Klarna and Divido and actually offering that finance option where, I mean, we live in a world now where almost everything is on finance, right? You talk to people and, okay, the car's in their drive on finance, the telly on their wall on finance, the fridge in their kitchen on finance, lawnmower in the shed on finance. Everything seems to be financed. And so giving people that option to say, you know what, yes, it's an expensive purchase. I bought some paving the other day. It's a significant amount of money. Actually, had I had that option to say, well, it's not going to be X amount of thousands of pounds for however many square meters, it's going to be X amount of hundreds of pounds over a series of months. Would I have possibly bought more? Yes, I think I probably would. I would have bought some extras. I would have started looking at the pots to go on it and everything else. But actually, there was no option. So I had to go, and actually, I'd probably reduce the amount of square footage I would have had purely because of the budget. So think about finance options, keep it clean and easy, and make sure it's a logical sequence. I think if we then take a step back and we go, okay, product page, what are we looking for? Social proof is important throughout the journey, but making sure we've got product reviews, and we've done a few webinars now with organizations such as reviews.io, and I really love those guys over there. Important to showcase what other people are saying about the product, not just what you're saying about the product. I think interesting over the last, well, certainly last 5 years, we seem to be more and more in this herd mentality where it's like, okay, you know what, if someone else, I don't know about you, Charlie, but when you're booking somewhere to stay in particular, and when we'll take this away from e-commerce for a second, actually the amount of people that say, you know what, before I go anywhere or before I eat anywhere, I'm going to look on TripAdvisor and I'm going to see the best ratings, I'm going to see the worst ratings. There's almost, I don't know if that's a British thing, but we almost kind of revel in those poor ratings, right? We're like, oh, look at this one. They found cockroaches in the kitchen. Oh my God, we'll never go there. And it's like, okay, it's got 60,000 excellent reviews and one poor one. I think, yeah, product reviews are really important. Also talking about just making sure everything, again, when you're looking at sizing guides, if you're in the kind of clothing space, or perhaps dimensions, if you're selling product, just showing as much data as possible. When it comes to variations and swatches and things like that, again, just making sure you're not delivering 50 variations or 50 swatches, you get that kind of overload. There might be a better way to categorize the product, which allows that decision to be made a bit earlier in the funnel, as opposed to getting them all the way to product page. And then you're asking them War and Peace, and they're like, oh, you know what? There's almost too many options. I'm going to be blinded. I'm not going to make a decision. So, yeah, thinking about the variations, thinking about how you lay out the products, thinking about the integration of video. And Shopify again does this out the box, but there are other e-commerce platforms out there that we work with. And so, understanding that, okay, you're going to upload product photos. It's not just necessarily going to be on a white background. There might be one in location. Again, people buy on emotion and justify by logic. So they look at a photo and they go, okay, how can I feel like that's me? And how can I kind of aspire to be that? And that's why selling through Instagram, I believe, is becoming so popular, is that people buy into that story and kind of like, oh, well, if that's their kitchen, then that could be my kitchen. And if they've got those pots, then I need to have those pots or that worktop or whatever.
Mm.
I think, again, looking at video as well, they always say a picture paints 1,000 words, and I always say a video paints 1,000 pictures. So how can we include video at that stage, and virtual try-ons? And we've done some interesting work for a sustainable glasses manufacturer recently, where again they're getting these virtual try-ons, so you can really try on the glasses and you can tilt your head and say, okay, how do they look on? Do they suit me? And actually looking at how we can do that with dresses and how we can do that with lipstick, I think is definitely where we're going. Also on the product page, I would look to upsell and build AOV, average order value. Too many times I see people selling one-off product and not thinking about how things can be sold in bundles or sets. So yes, you've bought, again, we work with a few lingerie brands. Yes, you've bought the knickers, but what about the bra? What about the matching set? What about 2 sets or 3 sets? And that's something where I see a lot of retailers missing that opportunity, is they kind of go for something, but they don't go for the jugular and say, you know what, there's a really easy option here. Yes, you can buy these standalone, but at the click of a button, you can have the whole bundle in your basket and you can check out. I think if we go back then to category page, it's looking at, okay, are we clearly demonstrating price? I get so frustrated when you go to a category page and you can't see price and then you have to drill down. That's really poor user experience. So thinking about showing price, showing some key information, etc., and actually making sure it's easily filtered. Again, we're always trying to create relevant experiences, so don't make the user do the work. And that's unfortunately one of the biggest pitfalls I see in agents, well, kind of as an agency owner, when talking with clients, is they think just because their lives are easier, they're making their customers' lives easier. And as I'm always reminding people, we're building this for your kind of the customer's customer, and therefore actually we need to be thinking about them and what makes their life easier and solves their problems. So have we got a filter where people can filter by price or filter by size? Again, if you're a size 12 lady, well, you don't want to look at size 8 dresses or size 24 dresses. You want to look at just size 12s. So how can you make that experience as relevant as possible? Finally, you go to the homepage, and how can we make sure that we're not showing War and Peace, but at the same time we're signposting people back to those relevant pages? Okay, there's maybe a series of collections, maybe there's some featured products or products on trend or products of the month, maybe there's some more social proof as we've talked about, maybe there's some stories or some blogs or something telling that story, maybe there's a little message from the founder depending on the size of the brand, etc. So yeah, there's lots of different ways on there to kind of improve product pages and to get the most out of your kind of product page performance. The last thing I would say is back to that product page is around urgency. So again, too many brands leave it to chance, yet actually those that do encourage people to, okay, check out before 3 p.m. tomorrow to get free shipping, or check out before this time to get X and to get Y. And it's not always about discounting. Again, we don't want to just erode margin, but we do want to give people the opportunity to offer extra value by saying, you know what, check out before 2 p.m. and get X and get Y and get Z. And that's a really nice little tactic that can be used. Doesn't matter what you sell online.